Okay, I have a really cool program here to review this time. And the main reason it's cool is not so much what it is, but it's because it's completely free. I'll just briefly tell you what it is, and then we'll look at the features and I'll show you the menus, etc. And then at the end, I'll give you my opinion on it. Okay, so it's called Writer. It's a free minimalistic screenwriting program for Mac. It is very similar to Slugline and Highland, and if you don't know what they are on the Mac App Store. Both of those other ones cost money though. I think they both cost $30. I know Slugline does, and I have reviewed that previously if you're interested. Now let's have a look. This is the new version 2.0. At first this program was a little too minimalistic. It didn't have what you see is what you get editing, and if you don't know what that is, I'll explain later. And it didn't have format menu. Well, it had a format menu I think, but it didn't have all these options such as omit and force. I think you could do it, but you couldn't do it for menus. It uses Fountain, and Fountain is a markup language designed for screenwriting. And so basically it saves it in a text, a file that is a .fountain file, and basically all that is, even though it has its own extension .fountain, all it really is a text file. So if for some reason this program is no longer updated in the future, you could always open your files in Fountain, in Highland or Slugline, or in fact you can actually even open it in a regular text editor such as Word or TextEdit, so it's really future proof. You can also export as FDX or PDF from this program, something you can do in Highland but you can't do in Slugline. Well, you think you can do PDF but you can't do FDX, whereas in Highland you can, but Highland, at least in version 1.0, 1.x, whatever, doesn't have what you see is what you get edited in either. This one does now, version 2.0 of Writer does. It's something Highland 2 may have, I think, is in beta, but at least currently it doesn't. So from the menu here, we can make things bold, italic, underline. We can omit the text, and what that basically does is it crosses out, so you can still see the changes you made. You can see, oh, that word I originally had in it, but I've crossed out, and so you know kind of what changes you made, but it won't be in the preview, it won't be in the PDF. And we have here a note button, so we can add notes. Again, that won't be in your PDF. Then we have add a title page. Then we have add a page break. And then we have preview, and I can't really show you what that looks like until we've typed something. From the file menu, it's very standard file menu with your save options, and share, we can't share yet because we haven't saved the document. We then have page setup, and that's basically like what you'd expect when you go to print something in, say, Word. You can select your page size, such as A3, A4, and that's cancel that. Then we have toggle preview, which is this option here. Then we have export, so here we can export it as a HTML, which is good. So if you have a script you want to maybe give out for free or whatever, or as a sample if you're doing a writing course or whatever, you can save it as a HTML and put it on your website, which is really, really handy. You have PDF, which is the main thing I think you're probably going to want to export as. That is a good way of sharing it with everybody. And then you have FXD. Then from the edit menu, it's very standard. It's all your paste and match style, select all, things like that. Then from format, we can make things bold, italic, and underline like we can down here, or there are very easy to remember shortcuts on your keyboard. So it's Command B, Command I, Command U, which is, I think, the same as in most word processors on Mac. We can then force scene heading, action, character, transition, or lyrics. You can actually write a song in this and create lyrics, but it's mostly for writing screenplays. Now, why would you want to force a scene heading or action? Now, sometimes, I haven't really had it in this yet, but in other programs like Slugline, sometimes, for whatever reason, the program isn't recognizing what you've typed as, say, a scene heading. It thinks it's action or whatever, where you can force it to be a scene heading if you have that problem. We then have note and omit from here as well, and add a page break or a title page from here, automatically match parentheses. Window menu, pretty standard, except we have themes. So at the moment it's on light, and that's my favorite, but we now have dark, and if we type it's white text. We have this one here, which is basically a creamy look. Then we have a darker version, which is basically a dark green. Then we have theme, the last one, which is more of a kind of grey black, but I tend to leave it on default light. Now, let me, before I progress on any further, just demonstrate. Well, I'll just show you this menu here. You got full screen and zoom from their standard stuff. Help, you can look at your syntax that is compatible with this program in Fountain to show you, because you don't have to use menus such as bold and stuff. You can use things like the star symbol or whatever. I can't remember. I'm not really good at remembering syntax. But anyway, you can use syntax in your document. And there's the official Fountain website. And then here's the project on GitHub because it's open source. Okay, now let me just demonstrate how good it is writing in this compared to Highland, because I haven't really used Highland much because I don't like the fact that it's not what you see is what you get. Now, what I mean by what you see is what you get is it's a term I've got from, mostly it's associated with web design. It's where when you arrange something in the editor view, it looks pretty much the same as it's going to look when you export it or in preview mode. Whereas in Highland and some other word processors, other screenwriting programs, such as the original 1.0 of Writer, when you format stuff, in the edit view, when you type, it's all left aligned. Then when you preview it, the say character name, such as Jack or whatever, might be center aligned like it's meant to in a screenplay, but when you edit in it, everything looks center aligned, even though it's not what it's going to look like when you export it, which is, I hate that, and it's a bit weird. So I like to be able to edit how it's going to look. Okay, so what I mean by that is let's go to int. Whoops, let's go to int for interior. As you can see, it's detected that, oh, this is an int dot, so that must be interior. It must be a scene heading, and it's made it all nice and bold for us. Then we can write, say, alley. Now, the trouble is, the one thing this still doesn't do that Slugline does is it has this all in edit view as small lowercase, and if I preview it, it's nicely uppercase like a scene heading is meant to be. Now in Slugline, once we write int dot or x dot for exterior, it detects straight away, okay, you are doing a scene heading, then you don't have to capitalize the rest yourself. It will all be completely capitalized, and that is true of this, because if we go to preview or we export as a PDF or whatever, it will be fine, but it's not what you see is what you get for capitals, if you see what I mean. This works fine in export and preview, but in our edit view it's still lowercase. So that's something to bear in mind, and hopefully that will be changed in the next version. I have sent that feedback to the developer, and when I've suggested stuff before, most of the things I've suggested he has already added, which is really good. So hopefully it will be changed in the next version. Okay, now we can write basically a description or action. So this is an action line. I just put gobbledygook for now. Now, when I write a character name, Jack, okay, it's left aligned. Let's hit enter. Well, nothing's happened. The reason nothing's happened is because it's not all capitals. You have to type it all in capitals. And if I remember rightly, it's the same with Slugline anyway, because otherwise it doesn't know that's a character. As far as it knows, that could be action. So that hasn't worked. So what you do is when you write a character, you write it all in capitals, and as you can see, it straight away, I didn't even have to hit enter, it straight away detected that this is a character and centered it. Now when we move over to the next line and start typing, we have our dialogue. We can then hit enter and add another line of dialogue, or we can hit enter twice and go and type some action, or if we don't want some action there, we can type, say, another character's name. There we go. Then type some dialogue for her, hit enter twice to move on and to write some action there, and there we go. Now, if for some reason this was not being detected as a character name for some reason, I haven't had that, but say it does, we can go to format and force character. Now it's added a little @ symbol before it, which is the Fountain markup to say that that must be a character name. Then when we preview it, there we go. We have, for some reason that isn't capitals, even in preview now. What's happened? Okay, well, that could be a bit of a bug there. I'm not sure what's happening there, because as you saw earlier, there we go. We have to have a gap, otherwise it doesn't know that that's a heading. Okay, so this is now a heading. We have action, we have a character name, we have dialogue, we have another character, we have more dialogue, then we have some action. And there we are. So it is pretty much what you see is what you get, apart from capital letters in the scene headings, which is unfortunate, but hopefully it'll be changed very, very soon. Now, there are a few other little features I'd like to show you, but first I just want to open up very quickly the Mac App Store page to see what the description is, see if there's any features I've forgotten to mention. And I will put a link in the description to this page here. So the link in the description along with this YouTube video will take you directly to this Mac App Store page where you can hit the get. It says open here. That's because I've downloaded it. If you haven't already got it, it'll say get. You just click it and download it. As you can see, the price is free. It is a new 2.0, which is really good. It supports things like what you see is what you get, which the previous versions didn't. There isn't much to see here. It says your document will automatically be formatted while you're writing, which helps save you time, and it looks really good. So instead of having to customize the character and make it centered or go to force character, whatever, it's now intelligent. It automatically formats as a character for you, which is very time saving. It saves you a lot of time with your writing. It will also export as PDF, HTML, or FDX, which is a final draft document, which is the industry standard program. It costs something like £150. If you need to send this to somebody and they request a PDF or an FDX, you can send that type of file to them now, which is really good because that is something you cannot do in Slugline. You can export as a PDF, which is probably going to be fine. Most people are probably going to accept that. But if some companies or whatever want an FDX, you can't do it from Slugline, but you can from this, and you even have that really cool bonus of HTML export. That's really, really good. So you can add it to your website. That's really good, really nice. For more information about Fountain syntax, you can visit fountain.io. And as you can see, there's a lot new in the latest version 2.0. Live preview, Writer now automatically formats your script as you type. Themes, export as PDF, HTML, or FDX. In the previous version before 2.0, you could only do PDF. You could not do FDX or HTML. Matching parentheses I've briefly mentioned, and it now has compatibility for older versions of Mac such as Mountain Lion and Mavericks as well. Okay, now one thing you're going to probably want to do is add a title page with your title of your project and who wrote it, your credit, and maybe your email address, etc. Well, if we go to format, we go to add title. It will all appear up here with your first page. Well, don't worry, I'll show you what happens. We type a title such as title, and we put our name such as hold on, credit. No, wait a minute, author. Okay, maybe this is different than in 1.0. They didn't have credit, I don't remember, or at least I don't remember having credit in 1.0. I thought just author. So maybe credit would be your copyright, like copyright 2016, so-and-so. I'm not sure. And then you have your author there. Well, anyway, then you have your draft date, and it automatically puts in today's date for you, so that can be time saving. Then contact would be, say, your address, your phone number, or your email. I would probably put my email in there. Then when we go to preview, it looks the same. And you might be saying, well, I don't want that. I don't want my title page merged with my first page. Well, if we go and save this out as a PDF, say. Okay, I've just saved this out as a PDF on my desktop. Now let's view it. As you can see, when you export your final document, your PDF or your HTML, whatever, it's got to be on its own page with the title centered, etc. for you, your date down there, your contact information down there, then you have your first page. So that caught me out at first when I used 1.0 of this, that when I went to preview, it seemed to be merged with the first page of your actual screenplay, and I thought, well, nobody's going to want that, surely. And I contacted them and they said, oh, don't worry about it. When you export your final PDF or whatever, it will be on its own page. And that is right. It is on its own page. So don't worry about that if that catches you out at all. As I said, if you need, you can do a page break from here, or there's a shortcut for you. Omitting, you can easily do a shortcut as well. So what do I think of it? Absolutely great, because it pretty much is a clone almost of Slugline. It has its own interface and slightly different way of doing things, of course. But what I mean is, if you're considering Slugline, then maybe hold off, because that is $30 and other programs are even more expensive. Whereas this one here is 100% free, and to me, it is almost pretty much equal to Slugline. The only thing I don't like about it so far, which I'm pretty sure will be changed in the next version, is that in preview mode here, in edit mode, the scene headings are not capitalized. They only are in preview. So that is a bit of what you see is what you get kind of editing that is still missing from this current version. But I think that will probably be changed pretty soon. Apart from that, it's really a lot like Slugline, but in fact, it is even a step better, because in the current version of Slugline anyway, 1.0, 1.x, or whatever you want to describe it as, I don't know what will happen in 2.0, but in the current 1 version of Slugline, you can export as PDF, but you cannot export as HTML or a final draft FDX file. You would need something like Highland for that, and then Highland doesn't have the what you see is what you get edited in, which is a big drawback. That is a huge drawback. That's why main reason I don't use Highland. So I really recommend it. If you're thinking about getting something like Highland or Slugline, maybe just go and get this first and see if it does what you need it to do, because I really believe it will. And if it doesn't, so what? You know, so what? It's free. You aren't wasting any money. All you have to do is go to Mac App Store, hit the Get button, download it, and it's only a small file size. It isn't like some big 10 gigabyte video game or something like that, and you've wasted a lot of bandwidth and time. It's a small program that's completely free. So if you're thinking about getting one of those other programs, hold off, download this a minute, give it a shot yourself, and make sure you can't make do with this, because I really believe you can. It doesn't have some of these real extra features like character development or things like that, where you put in your character's description and personality and keep track of all your different characters. But I'm glad it doesn't, because Montage has that, which is a program I used previously, which I wasn't really happy with the interface. The interface was a little bit dated. It was quite good for the first screenwriting program I used, but the trouble was with it, why I can no longer recommend it, is that it hasn't been updated in years. So I wouldn't recommend, even though it's still for sale, I wouldn't recommend you go buy something that hasn't been updated regularly. And I'm glad that this doesn't have that, though, because sometimes I think, even though I quite like a lot of preferences and a lot of options you can set, things like that, I like a lot of flexibility. I don't like too much clutter in a program. And character development, things like that, is something I don't want in a basic screenwriting program, such as Slugline or Writer. I don't want that. And if for whatever reason I personally decided, oh, that's something I want to do, I want a program to develop my characters or my scenes or whatever, then I would probably go and look for a dedicated program. And there are programs dedicated to that sort of functionality. I don't want it cluttering up this, at least not at this time. I haven't found a need for that. So for a lot of people, it's going to be clutter. And there are plenty of screenwriting programs you can go look at. Montage is one, although, like I say, it hasn't had an update in a long time, so I wouldn't recommend it personally at this time. And there are other ones, such as, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but even in the Mac App Store, if you look up Screenplay or Screenwriter in the Mac App Store, there's tons. And there are lots which have those sort of features. But I personally don't want them, and I think a lot of people don't. A lot of people do use Highland and Slugline because they like that it has quite a lot of options, but it's really quick and easy to use without a lot of clutter, and that's exactly what this is as well. So I really recommend it. I really recommend it. It's one of my favorite programs. In fact, it is nearly my favorite screenwriting program. I only prefer Slugline at this time a little bit more because of, like I said, it doesn't capitalize that sort of capitalize everything in the preview, in the edit mode, only in preview and export. But it's nearly there, considering that 1.0, 1.x of Writer didn't have any what you see is what you get, and it didn't have any of these options here at all, apart from title page. It didn't have any force options or omit or note options. It has come along a long way in just the last about last 3 or 4 months, because it was only released 1.0 back in, I think, November 2015, and for a long time it didn't have any updates, and then around about February or March it started having lots and lots of regular updates. So it's come along a long way from 1.0 in just the last few months. So I really recommend it. If there's any little thing you don't like about it in the current build, such as this, that I'm pretty sure will be changed and updated within, maybe even within the next couple of weeks. So I recommend you go give it a try. A link is in the description. Thanks for watching. Please like and comment on this video. And if you could do me a huge favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it only takes a few seconds and will help me out a lot. Thanks.